Hello everyone, I'm Colin Canet. Today we're going to make a really handy little edge guide for my trim router. And if you're new here today, I invite you to subscribe to my channel, click that little notification bell, and let's get on with making this little jig. Today I'm going to be making my jig from plastic, and this is about a 1/4 inch plastic. It's the same thickness as the base of my trim router, and you can see I've obviously taken that off for right now because I'm going to be using it as a template because I need to make a new base. Now I prefer using plastic when I can, especially if it's a jig that I know I'm going to be using a lot, and this is one of those jigs. So what I need to do, you can see there's some holes, and if you look on this side you can see that they're recessed. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to go around very carefully and I'm going to mark a hole, or where I want to drill a hole through on this side. So I'm going to need to make sure that they're lined up, and I don't need to hammer them hard. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up that, and then we'll start drilling some holes. Now I need to drill some holes on here, and the reason I'm going to drill holes is I need to mark, because I'm going to be flipping these over so that when I go to my drill press I can drill those recesses, because the screws that I use are this sort of a pan head type of screw. This is exactly where marking your parts becomes very important, because I'm not drilling on the top, now I'm drilling on the bottom because I'm going up into the router. So I found a piece of wood. This will be my fence, and you'll notice it's a little bit wide, and the reason it's a little bit wide is I still need to drill a hole in it, and of course it's much easier to do when it's wide like that than if it's too narrow. But what I need to do now is I need to cut these slots, and what I'm going to do, the slots are not going to go all the way through here, and the reason for that is I don't want to lose the integrity of this plastic down here. So if I drill a hole here and a hole here and then just cut out in between them, this will be much firmer down here because it's attached. So I'm going to leave it attached on both ends and just have a slot in the middle. What I'm going to do to cut these slots, and they won't be perfect, but they'll be mostly cut, is I'm at the table saw and I've preset a stop here, because what I'm going to do, I'm going to drive the blade up into the material, and when you do that you need to make sure that the material isn't going to get out of hand on you, because it's going to want to kick back, or there's going to be a tendency to do that. So that's why we put that stop block in there. So I've counted 4 revolutions that I need to go up, then I'll turn around and do the same thing on this side. Now I've just laid that bolt on there, and what I'm going to do is move my fence back that way and just slide that material. And because it's clear, I can actually see the blade right through, so I can very easily position that, and that should give me a perfect cut right about there. All right, let's go ahead on that one. So there's those cuts. Those turned out very well. I'm going to go over to the drill press now and just kind of put a circle right at the end of those, just so we stop any movement there, and it'll finish it off as well. So I ended up back at the drill press after all, and I just put a little circle. You can see a little hole at the top and bottom of each slot. Now I just need to clean those out. Well, this little jig's coming together quite nicely. What I need to do now is to drill some holes, a hole in here and a hole in that side. Now that I see where the center of this is going to be, I can now drill my hole in there, and you can see now why it's so important to have this a little bit wider. And then I'm going to cut that off on the table saw. I'll probably cut across there. So I'm just going to make that mark right now, and that will be like that. Okay, we'll do the final assembly now. So for today's cut, I'm going to be installing this lettering bit, and if you were making signs, this is the bit you would use, but it's just basically just a chamfer bit without the bearing, and you can see the angle on it. This is a true chamfer bit here, and it has the bearing on it. The only problem is this one has a 1/2 inch shank on, and it's also 45 degrees. It's way too acute for what I want. I want something with less of an angle, and that's why I'm going to be using this one. And this is perfect in here because with or without a bearing, it'll work fine. Now you could also use a round over bit in this, and it just means you would be isolating that bearing. So you would lining up the edge of the bearing with the edge of the fence. And the reason you might want to do that is just to give yourself a better stable cut for making round over cuts. Okay, I've adjusted the fence and I've installed the bit. I have a piece of wood here, our test piece, and I have it clamped to my workbench. Let's go ahead and make a cut. So there's what that cut looks like. Beautiful, flat, smooth, exactly what we'd expect. And you can see from the side what that looks like, a little bit of an angle on there. Now typically if I was making, if this was the top of a desk or some sort of a cabinet, I would have this would be the top here, and that would angle down like that, and you can see that. And that's a beautiful, I love that, the edge like that. I think if this is just a test cut, but and a finished cut, I would have this angle just a little bit higher up, so that I would just get a little bit of a bead along there. I think that would look really smart. So very happy with that. Excellent. Well, that concludes my video on making the edging jig for a trim router, and this is a super handy little rig. I just know I'm going to get a lot of use out of it. I should have made one of these years ago. So I'm Colin Canet for Woodwork Web. Thanks for watching.